Just a boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am. But right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there's just 157 days until Christmas 2023. Oh my goodness. You know, we've got a ton of things going on here. My good friend Star Wars Meg, who sometimes joins us for our Friday streams. We've done it for a long time. She's visiting family in France, and hope that she is having a wonderful time with her family. And my other friend, my other good friend that regularly streams with me, Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. He's got all kinds of nonsense going on in his life. I was going to haze him. Well, I've been hazing him. I've been texting him all morning, giving him a hard time. But he's have to take care of some more serious things, you know, life things that get in your way. And you know what? Tomorrow is Santa's birthday. I'm going to be 56 years old. Can you believe it? Holy smokes. Santa's getting old. Santa's been old. What are you talking about? So anyhow, we've got some stuff going on. I want to make a couple of channel announcements as well. I put the socials up. We have Facebook. For those of you who may be watching this on Facebook, hello there. Oh, thank you for watching. And Twitter, we're live streaming to Twitter. You know, we're very active on Discord. If you want to get involved in a Star Wars community on Discord, we would appreciate you checking out there as well. You can find links to all those things in the description. But also, a pretty big thing is our Patreon. We've been posting videos almost daily on Patreon. I've got a whole bunch already queued up. Not only we released, I think, 4 videos on Patreon today. Plus we've got one coming out tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And as we lead up to the Ahsoka series, I've been breaking down each of the Thrawn books in the trilogy that run concurrent to Rebels. And, you know, our good friend, Sheev the Wise, over at Vader's Lair, he got demonetized this week for reuse, violating YouTube's reuse policy, which is not exactly clear on what he did to violate that. He appealed it. They denied it. He's got to wait another 30 days. You know, a great way to support content creators, especially us small folks, right? Like Sheev and myself, is to come support us on Patreon. Patreon gives us a lot more leeway. We have a lot more freedom, and they take less of our money. You know, here on YouTube's a great platform. It's got all the reach in the world. It reaches so many people. We get to talk about Star Wars here. We have a great time. I see we've got some great friends in the chat. Chillmonger and Star Wars Fits, Darth Maximus, Brandon. We've got RF Gaming. Hello. Mumbo Jimbo. And the Sabersmith is out here. We've got a lot of announcements to do. When I see the Sabersmith, it makes me think of some other stuff. But we've got a ton of friends here. Nerd Mafia. Nerd Mafia is here as well. We're going to be doing something with Nerd Mafia and Sheev the Wise as we get closer to Ahsoka. Hey! Obviously Subdued. Hello there. Good to see you as well. So, but you know, we're we've got tons of friends who are trying to do this YouTube thing. And Nick's here. Good to see you as well. And YouTube takes a pretty good chunk of the money that is uh, given to content creators through memberships, through super chats, and all of that. YouTube takes a good chunk off the top, like 30%, 40%, depends on what it is, but they take 30 to 40% right off the top. And then, of course, they do give us some ad revenue, which to me, because I'm so teeny tiny, it's like less than $2 a month, something like that. Last time I checked, it was like $1.78. I don't know, like it's like in that $2 range. So that's the ad revenue is almost nothing. What really helps support the channel are folks subscribing, folks becoming members, and the super chats, things like that. Those do a tremendous amount just to support us, to help us with getting things to give away, to help support uh, uh, what we're doing to get resources. Trucker Mark, oh my goodness, $25 super chat. Right there you go. Oh, thank you, Trucker Mark, out there bringing goods to the world here in the United States. He's typically out there towards the West Coast, Colorado, California, and those kind of places. But thank you so much, Trucker Mark, for the super generous super chat. Appreciate that. But Patreon is just a wonderful thing. The Patreon takes less of the money, and you know what else they don't do? They don't strike your channel for reuse violation, whatever that is. So there you go. If you guys haven't checked out Patreon, I know that all of us, not only Sheev the Wise, but myself and Jason Ward from Making Star Wars, Bespin Bulletin, who we're going to bring up some articles today from Bespin, and Star Wars Meg. We all have a ton of content, but I've been really doing a lot of work to put content on that Patreon side for all of you. So there you go. Another thing, yes, we did a great big giveaway. We gave away the Sideshow collectible Hot Toys figures for Boba Fett from the end of The Mandalorian. This really comes from the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, the post-credit scene where Fennec Shand goes in and she cleans house, and Boba comes in, and you see that scene right at the very end with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand sitting on that Jabba's throne. It's their place now, right? They've taken control of it. Well, that entire set, the throne, Boba, and Fennec, we did a big giveaway. It's like $800 of stuff. We've been saving up for the channel. The Matt Risman, the one and only Matt Risman, won the giveaway. Congratulations, Matt, and we'll be getting that boxed up and shipped to him quite soon. So I haven't opened it. It's a completely unopened set, and it's absolutely fantastic, and super happy to have been able to do that giveaway. We might do another great big giveaway here pretty soon too. So I bring that up because there is another big reveal coming today when it comes to collectibles. And the folks over at Hasbro, they've had a couple of big projects, Star Wars related. The one that really hit off was the vintage collection Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. That thing went great. They've had a couple of misfires in there, They've had a couple of misfires, but they also have another one coming out later today, and I wish that I could cover it live, but the Haslab project that's supposed to be announced later today is the Ghost. The Ghost from Rebels. The ship, hey! Happy birthday, you old fart. Thank you, Nerd Mafia. I appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you so much for that. So that ghost is it is the ghost. It's being announced later today, and that will go into the crowdfunding. The way that those Haslab projects work is that they send them out to they build like a prototype, and then they show it to everybody. Say, would you like to have one? And then they let you pre-buy it before they've ever made a single one. And if they get enough people to buy it, then it'll go into production, but only for the number of people who bought it. So, for example, I bought 3 of those Razor Crests. Do you believe it? Oh, 3 of them. Holy smokes. I kept one for myself. I sold one to X-Wing, shipped it off to him, and I've got another one here completely in the box, unopened, that I'm going to try to sell when the time's right and I can get my money back. So that was my plan from the get-go. I would like to make a little bit money on that. But here with the ghost is coming. And today it should be coming in, and people should be able to back it. Hopefully the unlocks, the things that they have as bonus tiers for that are what we all are hoping for. It should be the crew of the ghost. So you should be able to get Zeb, Hera, all the folks that we've been seeing advertised for the Ahsoka show. You should be able to get all of them. Of course, Ahsoka's already available, and there's some of the other figures that have interacted with the ghost. But Ezra Bridger, you should be able to get Sabine Wren and Chopper, all of those, right? So those should all be happening. Is it the ghost? Yes, it is the ghost. We had some folks, as our friend here, Baymax in the chat said, we know some folks who were focused on the focus group to test it, and it should. We're fully expecting it. And hey, there's 20 euros from my good friend Star Wars Fitz. Kieran, thank you for the generous super chat. Santa's birthday is going to be a fantastic birthday. You guys are making me really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's overwhelming. Thank you. Hey, KG, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate that. So yeah, we're expecting the ghost today. It should be like 5 o'clock Eastern. I think they said it's going to be in that ballpark, 2 p.m. Pacific, and like 10 p.m. if you're over there in a British Standard Time. RF Gaming Channel, hello! Happy birthday! Well, dang, I'll join the fun. Happy born day, Santa. Thank you, RF Gaming Channel. I appreciate that. That's fantastic. We've got a lot of Ahsoka news to talk about, and I titled this "Rebels Fans Rejoice" because today we're going to get the Ghost Vintage Collection. That should be a tremendous item for folks. And Santa's thinking about backing one, just one, as a giveaway for next year. So when that comes out next year, all of you who are so generous to support me at the elite level, that's the $10 a month level, preferably over on Patreon, but even here on YouTube, we will put your name into a drawing like we did this year. And those who have been members for at least 6 months, you get an entry. And then for every month after that, you get another entry. So you can, if you're with us for a year, that's 6 entries. You're with us for 18 months, that'd be 12 entries. Oh, can you believe it? Some of our friends here in the chat have just celebrated their 2-year milestone with the channel. You see that their badges have updated. How fantastic is that? Mumbo Jimbo! Hello, Santa, and the rest of the garrison. Happy Friday. Every day with Santa's a good day. Love you, brother. Thank you, Mumbo Jimbo. Love you too. Keep rocking. You know, if you guys really want to let Jason Ward over at Making Star Wars know that you love him, you should send him lyrics from Phil Collins. Jason Ward is such a huge Phil Collins fan that if you send him lyrics from Phil Collins, just post it to his Facebook page, post it to his Twitter. Send Jason Ward Phil Collins quotes, lyrics all day today. It'll put him in a great mood. He'll be so happy and grateful, so thankful. Yeah, in the air tonight. Yeah, good to know. Oh, yeah, no, look, I'm completely trolling my friend Jason because he hates Phil Collins. I know you can't explain it. Some people, they just, for whatever reason, they just don't like good things. And Jason Ward hates Phil Collins. So I've been sending Jason Phil Collins lyrics just to improve his mood. That's yeah, studio. Yeah, you gotta send. Is everything okay with Jason? Jason's going through some real life things that have to be taken care of. It's some pretty major stuff. It's just crappy. He's having a crappy day. Jason's having no fun, and I'm sure if you send him some Phil Collins lyrics, it'll make his day that much better. Fill his Twitter feed with Phil Collins lyrics. He'll be so happy. Yeah, say Santa made you do it. Yeah, and then he'll be blowing up my phone. He'll be you dirty rotten. So, but you know what? If you're a Rebels fan, life is being good to you. Oh my goodness, life is being good to you because this season of Ahsoka that's coming up is going to effectively be, we've seen quotes of it, Rebels season 5. And I've got an article that I want to bring up, plus tons of pictures. I've got pictures from San Diego Comic Convention. And just another quick, I got a couple of channel announcements here. I was reached out, these folks reached out to me today. Well, this more than a week ago. We covered their fan film. They did a Star Wars fan film, and now they've created a full feature film done as a video blog, a vlog, and it's called Ben and Lacey, unique perspective of a classic story. And they've got a trailer for it. It's a romantic drama comedy, and you can find the they've got a little trailer for it here on Ben and Lacey. They say they've only got 3 subscribers. You guys, if you'd like to, we've got this big Hollywood writer strike going on, and we've got the Actors Guild is striking, SAG-AFTRA is striking to support small creators, people who are independent. There's some things there that there's some folks there you can support. They're going to send me a preview of the full feature film, and we'll promote it when it's getting ready to publish. So there you go. Oh my goodness, Matt Cave Gaming, good to see you there as well. Hello. So let's get into some of these pictures from San Diego Comic Con, and then there's some other things that I'd like to. There's an article from Sci-Fi Magazine that I really want to dig deeply into. Folks are doing lots of stuff to help us get ready for this Ahsoka series, and so here's some artwork from Ahsoka that's being published around the time of this Comic-Con. This isn't official studio art here, but there's some fan art. It's good stuff. But then look here, we do have some official stuff. Let me close this. This is from over in Japan, and some promotional art there. This is fantastic. This is Comic Con stuff, and this is Matt Risman posted a lot of this over on Meg's Discord, and I grabbed these from over there, right? So grab these from over there. I love this. This is from the trailer. We've seen it. There he is. There's the winter boy. There he is. The the man himself, who's getting that entire sideshow collectible hot toy collection with Boba Fennec and the throne from end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. It's fantastic. Matt Risman, congratulations again, my friend, and thank you for all your support over the years. Matt Risman's been with us since the very beginning. Thank you for that. Love this artwork. It's awesome. Like who said it here? Somebody said, "Yeah, I want that on my wall." I would. A lot of this is great. Let's jump into this. This is kind of the contrast here makes this a little bit rough because you can see the ship, but the planet behind it's make it kind of tough to see. This is all just fantastic stuff. Nerd Mafia. So wait, my screen never started to stream. Yeah, we started. We did. We did start. Oh my goodness! Look there, Matt Cave Gaming gifted 5 Snowpack memberships to viewers. Oh my goodness, Matt Cave, that is amazing. You know how much that helps this channel? Do you know how much that helps? You guys, this channel, because I've been so busy at work, I've got a project that's picked up. I've got tons of stuff going on. I've had to cut down to one live stream a week. I've been, like I said, I've been posting videos every single day over on Patreon, but I can't devote the amount of time to the channel that I was, and our memberships have been dropping. Our subscribers have been dropping. Nothing's been going well, and I don't bother you guys with that because this is a little side hustle Santa has. I just love talking Star Wars. I'm having a great time, but my goodness, this is just amazing, Matt Cave. God bless you. Thank you for that. It's tremendous for the channel. Thank you. So there we see some folks taking it up. Slim Shady, he grabbed one of those. Kylie Barfneck grabbed it. So thank you for that as well. Andre grabbed one of Matt Cave's memberships as well. You guys, this is fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. So here we can see Ahsoka's ship here amongst on the in a landing platform, right? We got to figure out that, but there's this is inside. This is inside. It looks like inside the Ghost. One of the rooms. It's all painted here. Sabine kind of paints this stuff. I believe this is a room in the Ghost. Pretty sure. And let's see. Let's keep going. We've seen this from the trailer. This is the shipyard that we believe Morgan Elsbeth is building a new fleet for Thrawn, and this is where she's building these. So this, I believe, just from what we understand, that this is a shipyard that Morgan Elsbeth is building for Thrawn. So that's there. Let's see what else we got. Oh, another shot of the shipyard. This looks like the glass where Ahsoka comes crashing through, and it comes down where the Inquisitor and that droid are that she battles. I think that's this scene here. Here's this deck of a ship, and you see Thrawn there in the middle. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to think about in here. Skywalker's Academy says, I think that's Ezra's place. Maybe it is Skywalker's Academy. It could be. This has me curious. This ship, this is not an Imperial Star Destroyer, because those have those like walkways and then the recessed areas on the side, like crew pits on the sides. And so this ship has a different configuration. you also see, at least in the concept art here, which is a thing, right? It's concept art. That's fine. It's got droids working these stations. More likely they'll be crew members, not necessarily uh, droids. But this deck looks much different than we've seen before, and it is a different class of ship, different type of ship. This could be, yeah, there are gold Death Star droids in the concept art. Yeah, I doubt that that's who is in the actual ones, right? Fitz, you're getting yourself in trouble again. I see you. I see you, daggone son of a gun. There's, I would suspect these are going to be actual crew members, and that this ship, it may be just, it kind of looks like the front end of one of those ships that Morgan Elsbeth is building. Not entirely sure it's even that, because there's some descriptions of Chiss warships that have a very similar kind of description when you read the books. That could be a Chiss warship, could be from the Chiss fleet. Not sure. That is my wild speculation. More reasonable speculation is this is one of the ships that Morgan Elsbeth built. So that'll be my guess. That's my actual guess. But I throw out there, maybe it's a Chiss warship. Not 100% sure. Here we can see the battle going place. This looks like the location where Ahsoka cuts through the floor and goes into this ruins of a temple. This looks like the same kind of thing. And this very well could be the same scene that we see where she's blowing it up at the end. And it, yeah, oh, there. Look, Matt Risman just sent me this. So there you can see Morgan standing on a ship that looks, it has this same concept art. And look there. There's a droid. Look over here. There's another droid. Oh, Matt Risman's paying attention. So there's Morgan in that ship that looked like the one we saw before. So there you go. But here we see where they were fighting. When Ahsoka is fleeing this temple scene, it's like blowing up, and she's running from it. It looks like there's a battle going on there, at least in the concept art. You see her ship flying overhead, and then in the trailer we actually see her running, and this place blowing up, and she's catching up to her ship. So that's what's going on there. And hey, we've got a visitor in the room. Let me just get through some of these pictures, and I'm going to bring in Rob. Rob Sketchraft is with us. I'll bring him in just 1 second. We got more of the concept art here from this same temple location. This is the site where Jason went to. Here, let me bring him in now. Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Hey, you gonna look at concept art and not talk to the artist? Good job, Santa.
My brain said, "What are you doing, idiot?" And I was like,
"Oh no!"
I'm looking at art, and I've got an artist sitting right here.
Your brain sounds like my dad. Like, that's crazy.
What an idiot!
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. This is from the same set where Jason got some photos where he saw like the feats. Yeah,
the feats.
The feats.
Yeah, it's a big feats.
Right. So let me get through here. There's a loft cat. They're really excited about. This could or may not be the same planet that we visited in the Mandalorian season 2. This could be another part of the planet. Could be later. It could be a different planet entirely. Don't exactly know, but we've seen a few scenes from a trailer with them like battling in the woods, and I would guess that that's this place.
I think we're past the one environment per planet phase of Star Wars now, right? Like,
oh my goodness!
Right? Like, yeah, we gotta let that one go. So
it's it's kind of crazy. And then from again, I've got tons of photos. We'll get across here. This is from the San Diego Comic-Con. Some of the Sabine Wren's helmet, uh, they've got the wall there. Some people are like, it still looks too much cartoony, but the idea is that she like painted it with spray cans, right?
It's like the greatest hieroglyphics ever or the dumbest representation of Renaissance art. I don't know. You figure out, right? Like you can just never please fans, you know?
No,
Like were that a realistic, like a Michelangelo style, right? Version of those characters, everyone would be complaining, why didn't they just do the cartoon design? Like you can never win, you know?
Yeah, and I was talking with Nerd Mafia the other day, and at least he admitted to it, right? Like there's things that he doesn't translate well from animation to live action, and things that he does. Some things he lets pass, and some things he doesn't. If you can just recognize your own inconsistency and say, hey, I'm weird. I don't like those things. I do like these things. Whatever. That's fine. But, you know, some of these folks are losing their minds.
Well, these are the same people, Santa, that tell me I have to watch 7 seasons of one cartoon and 5 seasons of another cartoon to even understand what's going on in this live action show. But when there's an image of the cartoon in the live action show, well, we got problems.
Right. Exactly. There's Chopper. I'm just waiting for somebody to say, wait, rubber tires in Star Wars?
Look, let's be honest. He's a shopping cart droid, right? Like, is that Ricky? He's that one that always rickety wobbly one, right?
Look, I absolutely love Chopper, and I'm looking forward to getting to hear him talk in live action because he does that Dave Filoni, you know, wah 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 kind of talking. It's way different than any other astromech droids with the beeps and the boops. He doesn't have that. He's more of a like the Charlie Brown teacher.
Right.
That's how Chopper talks, right?
Right.
Yeah. You need to watch at least 100 hours of other shows, 37 books, and 72 video games to understand what's going on. Yeah.
I know. Meanwhile, they'll complain that the Marvel shows are too linked to the TV shows and the movies. I don't know. Like I like this consistency. Like, look, I do believe everything should stand on its own. You shouldn't really have to see Star Wars to understand The Empire Strikes Back, but it makes a lot more sense if you do, right? But you don't need to. You could be your first one. You know, I mean, look, those opening crawls really help. Which was my whole thing. Like when I first was saying to Jason, hey, maybe they should make a Mando movie. I was like, in lieu of, you know, after season 2, you know, go right to the Mando movie, because no matter what happens, that opening crawl it solves everything. You don't need to watch the whole first 2 seasons to know what's going on. You just put an opening crawl, and if the opening crawl is read right, you're good to go. You know, you got enough to move forward.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Just a short thing like that can cover a whole lot, and it's a really good idea. And sometimes they'll take care of it through just a little bit of dialogue, but that opening crawl is brilliant. And I agree with you on the movie. If people haven't had a Disney Plus subscription, haven't watched all the Mandalorian seasons, the Ahsoka season, Skeleton Crew, and read all the Thrawn books, you still know what's going on, right?
Right.
I want to make a point because they've got all this stuff at the San Diego Comic Convention from the production, and we always see Ahsoka the Gray. We've never seen Ahsoka the White. We've never seen that big staff that she has in the Rebels post-credit scene. They're either holding it back or we're not getting it. There's no sign that it's there, which raises a question on that tie-in. When at the end of Rebels, when you see Ahsoka come back, she's wearing a very white outfit, and she's got this really long staff.
Spoilers.
Yeah, like
come on, some of us haven't watched any of it, Santa. All right, you're just spoiling everything now.
You just said you're not gonna. So you know.
Well, still, you know, I'm being consistent with the internet here.
Now you gotta love that. You gotta appreciate. No, so it just raises the question: are they just going to completely ignore it and just go this way? I mean, Dave Filoni is the creator, right? He's the guy. He certainly knows, and he even did the little artwork, a little sketch of Ahsoka standing with the staff from the end of Rebels, and Gandalf with his staff, and you can see the similarities there. We've never seen her with that staff with sort of the ornamental end on it.
Maybe she's Ahsoka the taupe in this one, right? Like he's just going through the different hues here, right? all the gray hues.
Gray. Yeah. There's been some there we get a lightsaber hilt, but there's been some discussion about one of these. There you get the Grand Inquisitor, or not the Grand Inquisitor, this new Inquisitor, right? The werewolf guy.
Good for one episode Inquisitor.
Yeah, werewolf guy. And I'll guarantee you they won't make this as a Haslab anytime soon. That failed spectacularly last time I tried that. There's Merrick, werewolf boy. Ahsoka sabers, those aren't new. That's what my dad trying to call.
Old Saint Nick's calling Santa.
Well, there's some discussion because on that saber, it says Sabine's lightsaber. Well, it's actually Ezra's lightsaber that she has. It's sort of like the legacy lightsaber. Is it Luke's lightsaber? Is it Vader's lightsaber? Is it?
Yeah, but they're pretending like Ezra isn't in the show still, Santa. So we got to play along with this.
Just a hologram.
I wonder if he's going to be in it. Okay, it's like you have to play along with the first. Look, I love Terminator 2. It's into my top 5 of all time. But you have to play along like no one's seen the trailer beforehand for the first 15 minutes of the movie, right? Like you have no choice. They're going to give that away. So, but this is the opposite. Like everyone knows he's in there, and the marketing's playing. Like at least the Terminator 2 marketing just let you know what's going down. The movie plays by the rules, but then the show, I don't know. It's just weird how they do things.
Yeah, it is. And I want to get to Thomas's question, but that's a really good point because you do see the trailer. There are things in the trailer you just see. You're like, well, obviously, it happens all the time on TV shows we watch, right? So you see a commercial for a thing. At the end of the episode, you're wondering, is so and so dead? Well, no, they're not dead because I saw them in the trailer for the next episode, right? Like they give away things, and you just have to kind of pretend like you don't know that they're not dead, right? It just is.
The cliffhanger, the serial style cliffhanger,
right? And for a series when it's starting, you're like, "Ooh, is Ezra going to be in it? Are they going to find him?" You have to pretend like you don't know, right? But Thomas asks, Ahsoka has to die at some point, right? Season 1 or 2 of the movie, since no mention during the sequels. Well, it's a good question, Thomas, because where was the mention of Ahsoka during the original trilogy? So Ahsoka,
come on, man! Are you just taking my whole game here? Or are you gonna, like we're doing this, Look. Let's be honest. We all know Luke and Leia weren't brother and sister until Lucas just gave a big "who cares," and ended that thing. This wasn't the deal, you know. So like, this thing's always been a plan in motion. I do think the biggest missed opportunity with the sequels was Ahsoka should have been the Obi-Wan role. Yes. if Luke is like on the other side of the galaxy, resigning from all this, she should have filled in that role kind of thing, like it was the thing to bring it all together. But if Jason were here, he'd go, no, Rob, you got to understand that wasn't the mentality. I know what the mentality is. We saw what the mentality, we have the finished result for the mentality, right? They made what they were going to make. Like, I get that. But he would also agree that why spend the previous 10 something plus years building up a fan base around a character to not have her be in the new movies when you launch them, right? That is where none of that makes sense. And that's where I'm like, look, JJ, I don't watch these cartoons either, but you just think about this for a second, like
Well, there's a few things. And so the same thing comes up with well, Ahsoka's the big one, but there's also the potential of Omega or Fennec Shand, where we've seen Fennec post original trilogy, pre-original trilogy. We've seen Ahsoka pre and post. We assume we're going to at some point see Omega post original trilogy, but all of them were missing in the original trilogy. So there has to be some sort of explanation about where they were, what was going on, why weren't they present? Because everybody in Star Wars got billions of planets, galaxies, species, individuals, but there's only about 50 or so that meet together all the time. So what happens when 5 of those 50, 10% of them, are missing? Where did they go? The story begs.
Well, that's the problem when you say you're doing a trilogy that's going to end everything, and it's really the beginning of a new series of 6 films when you think about it. Like they didn't make something that was encapsulating everything that came before it and wrapping it up. They were making the beginning of something new in the span of 3 films. And sorry, man, like we're way past that. I think if we can all agree after the Lord of the Rings, like 3 movies is just not going to be enough to give, fans and studios their bang for their buck, monetarily wise with merch and everything else. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, they just started a whole new thing and then left all this other stuff hanging out there. But I mean, look, at the same time, as a storyteller, you can't go into like the Spider-Man thing and be like, I got to explain where Doctor Strange and the Thing are. Like, that's not the movie. And that's a really bad problem that fandom has right now. When you announce something like, if you're like, hey man, we're making a General Grievous film, everyone's going to be like, well, where's Anakin? It should not matter where Anakin is. It's not called Anakin. It's called General Grievous, and if you're not interested in the story they're telling, then like they shouldn't be making it. They should just make an Anakin series, then you can complain that you're only getting that, but
the other side of that is there's that during the prequel trilogy, right, we explore primarily Anakin in Obi-Wan. There's a lot of other galaxy out there. During the original trilogy, we were primarily with Luke and Leia, Han. There's a lot of other galaxy. Where were all the Mandalorians, or what's going on in Chiss space? What's going on in the rest of the universe that's not on this storyline?
To be fair, the Mandalorians were supposed to be the baddies of the prequel trilogy. Jason tries to pretend like that wasn't a thing, Santa, but you remember, right?
It was a thing.
You remember?
Yes, I do. I know for sure that was. But things. There's a big story with the Mandalorians that originally George Lucas was going to do them with the original trilogy, and then that got kind of thrown aside, and he ends up with only one. He's got Boba Fett.
He got real annoyed that one action figure outsold all the other action figures. Like, for some reason, his favorite action figure didn't sell, and he was really mad everyone wanted the other action figure until he took away your action figure. Like, I'm not being that sarcastic with that one.
No, you're not. You're not. You could just go back and see like the Boba Fett documentary that they made about the origins of Boba Fett and all that. There was a plan to use lots of them, and they were like, they didn't have enough money to make lots of them, so they made one, and they're like, okay, we'll use one, and that's what they did. So, but the same thing holds true to the sequel trilogy. We have a very short period of time with a very limited width, right? There's a ton of things going on outside. So when it comes to these characters, when it comes to Ahsoka, for example, where was she during the original trilogy? Where was she during the sequel trilogy? Well, there's a lot of universe out there. So you can't necessarily say she's dead, or we don't know. Maybe she is dead. Who knows? Maybe she's not. Dave Filoni already said just because you hear her voice in Rise of Skywalker trying to encourage Rey to get up and go do something, doesn't mean she's dead. She doesn't have to be dead to be part of the, living.
Yeah, that ending, I'm not a big fan of fan edits in a way, right? Because editing is not editing without coverage. You're just editing, taking things out is not how you edit a film. There's different takes, you have access to different reels. But there is that one where they made the little Force Ghost add-on, and it's like that was the original ending to Return of the Jedi. So that makes way more sense than like the voice thing is just like a cop out. It's like we didn't know what to do, so we added this at the last second. It's like, I mean, don't get me started about that movie. But
but we will get you started about that in a little bit.
Oh no,
there's a thing later.
Why? What did I do, Santa? Is this over the cookies thing again? You leave Santa a rice cake 1 year, and he never lets you forget about it.
Well, you didn't even do anything to drink with the rice cake. What are you supposed to do?
Well, I figured you were full up on nog, so you could have used some absorption. But all right, my bad.
So Mumbo Jimbo says, Sketchcraft, is there a story for how you met Jason? We could troll him on next making Star Wars. I think you found him similar to like the rest of us. We saw him on the YouTube.
Actually, I discovered Jason inadvertently during the Revenge of the Sith, because he had leaked this storybook that had the death of the funeral of Padme or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's where I came across Jason Ward, and then it wasn't until the Force Awakens concept art stuff, at the time I was watching Jedi Council at the time, and they Harloff kept showing off all his concept art, and I was like, or saying there was concept art, something like that. I can't remember, but I wanted to go, where is this coming from? And so he had named a site, and I went to the site, and I was like, that's not where this stuff's coming from. And then eventually it went back to Jason's site, and then he had a podcast, and I started listening from there. But there's really no cute story. We've never actually physically met, and I just hit him up when I didn't know about him taking the sabbatical for a year. I just figured COVID might have killed him. I mean, you don't know, right? People were disappearing left and right. Yeah. Right. So when he came back, one day there's a stream going on YouTube, and I'm like, hey. So I just said, hey, man, I'm a blah, 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 blah. If you want something, because he said, if you want to, anyone wants to come on and chat, I just offered to come on and chat with him. Then after I did that, he asked if I wanted to just stay on. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, if he's like, they're going to hate you. And I'm like, you haven't really made it in Star Wars until they all hate you. Right.
Well, there's some of that. It's not too, well, I was aware of Jason for showing up, all the leaks, the inside information that he had, when he would show up on different places and they would interview him. Den of Nerds did, when I was part of that community, supporting Josh, and Jason came on a few times. I was like, oh, this guy's very interesting. And then he went on the sabbatical, and I was aware of what was going on. I was like, oh, that guy's in a lot of trouble. And then some time passed, and somebody reached out to me, and I just don't want to give too much information. Somebody reached out to me and said, you ought to reach out to this Jason Ward guy and get some information directly from him. And I reached out to him. He's super generous, super nice, and cleared everything up. And if you guys still are aware of what went on with him, and you have some,
he's got a video he put up. It goes into extreme in depth, and he went through all that with me after the first stream. And I just told him, why don't you just get legal representation? I mean, I hate to go there, but this really is a problem,
right. And he's got all the receipts. He's got all of it there. And so it's not about he said, she said. He's got all of it. So you can go catch that over with his site. So that's how I got to introduce like a person to person. I'm just some knucklehead who reached out to him, and he's a really nice guy and said, sure. And then here we are. So
yeah, I wish there was some cute story I could give you, but I do know this once. Like he went to what's that Scum and Villainy bar once, got real high. Like that was, I know that story. Like,
well, right.
Yeah.
Mumbo
he don't do that no more. But,
seems weird that a random Lego blue flight suited E-Wing fighter is chasing Sabine in a trailer. Well, that E-Wing is got a lot of people excited. So you see here in this Lego, they do have the E-Wing from the show. This has got a lot of people excited because this was supposed to be part of Star Wars before, and it didn't make it. So now to see it actually in live action Star Wars, it's great. This came from a video game, very popular in a video game, the fighter itself, and to see it in live action. I know there's some folks that are like, never thought it would happen, and they are extremely excited to see it. But with this, there's a couple other things that, look, it's got an eject seat, right? So something must happen. Somebody has to eject because it's part of the ship.
Because just randomly ejecting yourself into space is a thing to do. But I play along. I play along with the fantasy, but it is funny. They'll find me.
There's this here with Morgan. You can see Morgan Elsbeth, Balin's
evil George Lucas. Yeah. Come on, let's be honest. They just shoved George Lucas's head onto the Luke body from Return of the Jedi, finally fulfilling George's dream. Well, I'm going to
come right back to these two figures in a second. Captain Porter, who I will call Mike. His name is Mike because Mike Porter. We do the Mike Porter dad joke, and now we have Captain Porter Lego. If I ever get one, I will name it Mike. So there's that, and then you've got this New Republic astromech droid, which some people have done some research and actually come up with his thing.
Yeah, it's Ukraine, Ukrne. See,
but these
color.
These blades are red, but and Meg pointed this out in the trailer. They're orange, and there's a reason for them being orange. We're going to figure out the reason, but a big portion of it is just throwback to the original Vader artwork where his saber was orange, and now they're bringing it in to the show. And Balin's lightsaber hilt is very similar to the same one that was in that artwork. The blade is very similar to it, so that's sort of where it came from. Now there needs to be an in-universe reason for it, and these blades should be orange, not red.
But they're not going to spend $1 million just to make just the saber color for two. They got them lying around. They're going to use what's off the shelf.
Exactly. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we've got Ahsoka's ship here with Huyang on there doing some work. She's fighting our Inquisitor. Sabine's flying around. Good stuff. And with that, there's another where you can see.
Okay, now it's time to do the Price is Right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. Showcase Showdown. How much you think this is here? Let's see.
$80.
Can't go over $80.
$79.97.
Right. Yeah. 8001.
So that's it. Here's what I wanted to go. I wanted to go through this article with you because there's some interesting stuff in here. And actually, somehow I lost a page.
They put boobs in the B, Santa. Look at that. Someone had to say it.
Well, to me, it looks more like the old Viewmaster, right?
But I come from the T-shirt industry, and I always have to think, what's going to get an 8-year-old punched? Like at school, so
Of course you would. Let me. I got to go back to. Let me pick this up. I think Matt Risman posted this. And I always have to. He posts all this stuff on Meg's Discord. Did Meg give him $800 worth of prizes? No. Just Santa did, but no.
He took your toys and ran.
He posts stuff to Meg's server all the time. Does he post it to Santa's? No.
It's hilarious. I love the betrayal. That's so Star Wars, you know.
So this article, I'm surprised people haven't broken it down yet because the internet. You know, I know the internet, and it's
they don't read. They don't read Santa.
No,
we're way past this. I'm the only one complaining that Cinefect, the biggest casualty of COVID, other than the millions of people who died, which, you know, God rest their souls, is the Cinefect's dying. I'm like, how the industry didn't save that publication, I'll never know. But they're like, oh, read, Rob. I'm like, you really should. You know, like
it's sometimes you look and learn. But this is good. Because there are we've got plenty of content in here to trigger the people who want to be triggered. You know, they're looking for triggers. There's a ton of them in here. There are also people looking for information. There's a lot of information in here as well. And, this is going to be a lot of fun. Because,
I'm looking for triggers.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. This is nuts.
It's funny.
So it starts fan favorite. It says, when it comes to transferring fan favorite animated characters to live action, the Walt Disney Company effectively wrote the rule book. So there's right there. You can the very first sentence. Disney's live action adaptations of animation. Here they seem to be saying, "Wow, they're really good at that." There's a lot of people who take. I
don't like any of them, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going right back to Glenn Close and 101 Dalmatians here. Mm-hmm. You know, which was a giant moneymaker for them. See, here's the difference, though, right? In the 90s, they had a real problem with budgets in their live action division. I've told this story before, but Jerry Maguire is based on a Jeffrey Katzenberg, the head of animation at Disney. Ended up co-creating DreamWorks. Really, DreamWorks was his project. The other two just sort of tagged along. There's a really great book called They Would Be Kings, the DreamWorks story or whatever. It's really, really good. But the 101 Dalmatians was made with the $50 to $60 million, or $40 million, whatever, what we would consider a mid-tier budget. You know, like that's why everyone was human and not animated. They thought they could take this stuff and they didn't think it would work that well, to be honest with you. There was a lot of animosity toward it internally, but it did gangbusters for them. So I kind of likened it at the time to that Casper money. I remember Casper the Ghost came out where everyone was sort of like jokes and gags with a CGI character. But what it's turned into is like these things are like $300 million, the equivalent of like a Dick Tracy movie, you know, like Dick Tracy's not they made a live action cartoon once called Dick Tracy, and it's why Jeffrey Katzenberg wrote a letter, because they lost so much money on that movie.
Well, there's more trigger, and I'll bring up there's the one live action Disney is Mulan that I think has value, because the animated Mulan is one story. The live action Mulan is a different adaptation of the original text. So there's an original Mulan that comes. Here's my thing, though. You can do a reanimated version of a film in CGI that looks stylized, that can be a whole new story in a way, or an extended version of that story. And I'm fine with that. The problem I have is, look, when you see the character, the reason why Disneyland feels timeless is because when those characters are walking around, I mean, for the most part, other than say the Cinderella, like they're all the stylized versions of themselves. Well, you know, I feel like they should have a reason for existing other than taking an animated thing and redoing scene by scene in live action. Like that doesn't have a reason for existing. And what are you doing? What story are you telling that wasn't told? What are you doing?
Well, what's crazy is most of these aren't live action, Santa. They're just realistically animated. That's where I'm like, there's nothing live action about all the lions and Lion King. They're just realistically animated. So how does that out? All right, man. Look.
So let me drop down here, just because we're talking about this. There's one key factor that distinguishes Ahsoka from the aforementioned Disney reboots. While those films were mostly faithful to the originals, aside from the odd new song, reinvented comedy sidekicks, and efforts to address the political incorrectness of the past.
Santa's going to get triggered. Santa is going to get... Yeah, but Santa, look, this was a real problem. I work with Yeah, so I work with screenwriter, actor Kevin Grievous. So he created the Underworld films, and he's been in Star Trek and a bunch of other roles and stuff. And so, and he was telling me a story because at the time I don't want to get into that story too much, but we were having a conversation about this. I want to say 2009 and 10ish, and he was telling me because I'd pitched to them the idea. I actually did a drawing because Donald Glover showed up on Community in the Spider-Man outfit, which my association with Spider-Man goes back to the movie Toy, where Richard Pryor wore a Spider-Man outfit. So I always thought Spider-Man was black. Oh, right. Okay. It was news to me when Peter Parker wasn't black. I was like, what? So okay. I was like, hey, maybe the time for a black Spider-Man has come. And I did a series of drawings and I put them online. They're dated 2009. It's a year before Miles Morales came out. I said, you should pitch this tomorrow. Well, I don't want no money. I just think I told him at the time, because Donald Glover did this, its time is coming. And maybe someone, with the shared experience of, because Kevin's a really smart dude. Like he was a biologist. So I was like a really smart kid growing up in a poor part of town that gets accepted to like a smart school for gifted kids. You know what I mean? Or rich kids. Yeah. Puts him in a whole thing. But he told me that the problem is, he goes, Rob, they used to call the Falcon the Falcon, like it's horrible fucking. Yeah. And he's like, he didn't feel at the time that mentality had changed much over there. And so you can say like, this is not a problem. But I think Santa, behind closed doors, if you go read those Amy Pascal emails, I don't think they're that far off, No,
I agree. But look, my friend Chillmonger's in the chat here, and Chillmonger did a series of videos on this as well. And he has a pretty good take on it. And I always point people back to him because as a person of color, as somebody who champions more of seeing diversity and things like that, he makes a really good argument about what's he call it? If he's in the chat, he'll probably type it faster than I can remember. Something about temporary diversity, right? It's not done because they're not changing the gender of a character or the race of a character. For let's take the Little Mermaid, for example, right? They're not changing her race because she's going to be a different race from here on. They're doing it for this movie. For Black Panther, T'Challa was Black Panther. They changed it to a woman, and they did it for a movie. Then there's a change back to being a guy again. Like, come up with a new character, one that has a compelling story, one that has a compelling story arc, and tell that.
Yeah, but you're completely forgetting that fans hate new characters.
Yeah, well,
like when you see Rey, they just go, "Why didn't they just use a Luke kid? Like, why didn't they just? What couldn't have been Luke's daughter? Like, well, what would have been the difference? Let's say Rey was just Luke's daughter, then you'd be like, why don't they just make a Luke? Like, right. You're never gonna. This is why you got Transformer movies that won't get rid of Optimus Prime, even though Optimus Prime's voice sounds 1,000 years old.
Yeah,
and they don't know where to go, like character wise, with those characters. Like,
the other problem you end up is with typecasting, where like, so you go to say Moana or Mulan, you're like, oh, I see. So all Asian descent people have to be Mulan, right? Or all Pacific Islanders have to be Moana. They can't be some other character because they're so pigeonholed into one. Or what was the one that was done from the Deep South that they're redoing some rides for and stuff now?
The Song of the South? That's the one. People were protesting that when it came out, saying, I got the photos of that one.
They're replacing that with the new one.
Right, with the Frog Princess, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, though. I see out of all of that stuff, because I just think it's obvious. Like, a story is a story, and whether you relate to it or not, is up to you. My whole thing is artwork lasts forever. Realism is a period of time. Mm-hmm. It's a period of time in which you perceive something to be realistic. If you go watch a fight sequence that was considered realistic in the 60s, right? Or like the Bullet car chase, right? In San Francisco. People go, that's the greatest car chase of all time. You watch it now, you're like, that's none. What is like, it's just, like realism is a matter of the moment. So when you have characters that are stylized, to me, those things last forever.
Yeah.
And so, I was never against, Star Wars doing animation. My problem has just been there's CGI, the quality of CGI animation for TV it just wasn't very good. It's just now getting there. But what I just want to
look, George wanted to do it, but the garage project, right, which is essentially now what Stagecraft was George's garage project, like realized, but it was never there. Now,
but it was never fully styled. It wasn't 2D. How do I say this? It had like 3D realistic-ish backgrounds with sort of realistically designed humans that would then be shaved off like wood. Like it's like Mr. Miyagi says, good karate, bad karate. Karate in the middle, right? You hit from both sides.
We'll go to the early Clone Wars when they truly looked like puppets. Like puppet on a string puppets.
I know. I'm not a fan of Captain Scarlet.
Those very first ones, you're like, wow, they look weird. Like puppets on a string kind of thing, and that's what they went for. But it was so good that it like evolved past that.
At the time, I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and then I got to turn on this, and I'm like, if they had just had an anime studio animate all this, I'd be watching. So, but I do get the idea that if you build an audience up for 10 years, plus bringing them characters into live action isn't a bad way to go.
Well,
but
Rebels is coming.
Fans have to understand that, like, the shade of blue or green isn't going to be perfect, because cinematic light, animation, and everything, it's cinematic light. It's not realistic lighting. You can't just put a camera up and bounce a light off someone, So,
right. So let's get back to the article. It says Ahsoka, the latest Star Wars TV show to land on Disney Plus, is a spinoff of The Mandalorian. Well, it's more than that, right? It's also built around characters who made their names on a digitally rendered frame at one frame at a time on Rebels, right? Rebels. This is a long way of saying they came from Rebels, right? So says Ahsoka is a continuation of existing canon. In other words, the new cast, led by Rosario, back as Ahsoka, and let's keep going. In other words, the new cast, led by Rosario Dawson, back as Ahsoka after cameos in Mandalorian, Boba Fett, are picking up where the animators and voice actors left off. So it is largely picking back up where Rebels left off. So you do have a decade of fans. The series was only on for 4 years, but it's now a decade old. We're coming back with the Haslab Ghost, Vintage Collection Ghost, with those figures, presumably. We've got Ahsoka coming in, and then the what is going to be Dave Filoni's movie that's going to continue that as well, tying it in with Jon Favreau's Mandalorian. All of this coming together, it's just building upon the Rebels universe now, and this where it picks up. And so we go, they say the Ghost Protocol, Sabine, right? Natasha Leo Bordizzo, Australian actor, donning the highly customized armor of Rebels graffiti-loving Mando, Sabine Wren.
Right, but that's the big difference, though, Santa. This is a continuation of the animation. What we've been talking about are essentially live action or realistically animated reboots, right? Like if they had said, hey, we're doing a Rebels movie or a movie that starts it all over again, and it's going to condense the storylines down to a 2-hour film with live action characters, and it's all realistic and none of it, fans would, they'd be like, burning down Disneyland.
Right. I know.
It's not the same thing. Had they made Lion King 2, well, that was an animated film, but you know what I mean? Like if there was a continuation into something, I guess you have a thing there, but I don't know. I think these are still apples to oranges. I don't consider this the same conversation.
No, but the writer here in the magazine tried to do it, but I don't think it is either. But it is a continuation of the show that started in animation, and it goes to the conversation I was having with Nerd Mafia, when we see characters go from live action to animation, there's far less criticism over the look and appearance of that character in animation than there is when it goes from animation, people fall in love with it, to live action. People were like, oh, that Ahsoka doesn't look right, or that Sabine doesn't look right, or that Hera Syndulla doesn't look right, or that Grand Inquisitor doesn't look right. Which it doesn't, but
it's begun. Okay, I want to talk about this because like the Grand Inquisitor to me is totally different than the Cad Bane thing. If someone's going to argue about the size of a hat or something, right. I'm like, all right, that is a matter of who, the director's taste, I guess. Whoever approved that, which I'm assuming Filoni. 1 second. The Grand Inquisitor is a whole nother problem, and it's a problem with the production on that, the design, the production designer as a whole on that series. It just looks very generic. I don't have another word for it. That's the term we would use in art when something is neither setting a stylistic tone, nor is it just going for pure veritas or realism or whatever. It's somewhere in between of like trying not to offend people, like on some level.
It was like a lazy effort because they had live action species before, and they,
But it isn't lazy. I guarantee you, they spent a load of money. I stopped myself saying this. You'll understand this. I never cursed before the army. It's the one thing I took. They got me with that,
Yeah, I know. It took me a long time to break it. Yeah,
I've not been able to do it. I've tried so hard. But no, that's the thing. Like, it looks cheap to us, but I guarantee you it wasn't. It's just that whoever had the role of approving things, whether it's the showrunner, because I don't understand how this works on the TV side. Usually production designer, art director, and director kind of get together in a room, and the director makes the final, like George comes in with his marker and gives a magnifico or whatever, right? the little stars on what, yes, he likes this. This, I don't know who's approving these things.
Right.
Because like, who says this is the same planet that this Inquisitor's fortress has always been on? And you hold that shot up to the last time it just appeared in a video game that sold millions of copies, right? And you're like, they don't look like the same thing, like this. Well, this is weird.
But my point about the species is in live action. You go to the prequels, you can easily look at the same species. And
that's what I told Jason. He said I was nuts.
And you're like, it's the same species.
No, that's what I said. I said they're supposed to be the same species. So why did they just Rob? What?
Yeah.
This guy just looks like. I said he looked like. Remember in the movie Drive when he wore that plastic face to go murder people? He was on the Shatner face from
Ben asked, do you think there's going to be a Rebels recap in the front like they did with the prequel stuff for Kenobi? Maybe. It would be good to back up a little bit to see Thrawn and Ezra purgled out and pick up from there. Like, to have some idea who Ezra is and why they're looking for Thrawn, like, root it back to something, but I don't know for sure they will. And there was another question that followed right after that saying, do you think we're going to see Zeb? I do think we're going to see Zeb, and they're hiding it from us, right? They're holding it back. There's some secrets that they're holding back. Just as I mentioned to Bespin and Jason last week, like, we know there's some World Between Worlds shots in there. Well, they haven't shown us any of that. It's going to be there. So you're going to have to wait. We also know some stuff about some stormtroopers and stuff like that Thrawn has. They haven't shown us that either. So they're holding back some things. So I do think we will see Zeb. There's no.
I would actually not be surprised if they didn't, and they just saved that for the movie. It depends on how much money that Zeb shots cost to make. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the difference between $1 million and $20 million,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if they're like, hey, we've shown you Zeb and something else, and then we'll save it for the big movie where they all get together and we got a bigger budget, fine. Or if it's just him showing up somewhere in a bar you're not going to be happy about that either. What are you really looking for? You're looking for them to all be a team again.
Yeah,
And maybe this isn't the thing that puts them all together. Maybe the movie is what puts them all together, you know?
Yeah, maybe. The question, with after the Bad Batch, with the season, the final season's coming, and Tales of the Jedi, excluding that, and leaving out Young Jedi Adventures, what's the next animated production the two of us would like to see? Honest opinion. For me, it would be immediately following Return of the Jedi with the original trilogy cast, following their story in the fall of the Empire. Do you have an animated project you'd like to see, Rod?
Yeah, I'd like to see them continue the Ninth Jedi as a series from the first season.
Nice.
If it had to be 3D, it'd be the Ronin, because I really like the Ronin book, which nobody has read, but it's actually really good. It's not official, man. It's what I wanted from the prequels when I first, like a Kurosawa, character who's neither good nor bad, truly gray area, kind of nihilistic dude.
Seth, you can kind of see a figure behind Thrawn in the trailer. You still don't get a real good view of it. They're being pretty good at that. You can kind of see somebody back there. It's tough to make out.
I'm not gonna lie, Santa. If they had that Aardman short from Vision season 2, it was so hilarious to me that I would also accept. I would love a pod racing thing like with the Aardman. Like, I love that stuff. I love it. You'd love it. I love it.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Let me get to the meat of this story, because there's some really good stuff in here. It's based on so Rebels. If folks don't know, like even Zeb was based off of McQuarrie's original artwork for Chewbacca. Didn't realize that when it became Chewbacca, so that artwork still existed.
Technically Han Solo.
And they came back with
technically it was the Han Solo character was Zeb. Han Solo was originally a big alien character. Then they made Han Solo human and made the big gorilla character. Yeah, so
true. But all that's true. It says original truth followed the crew of a freighter named the Ghost. This is a little back filler for folks, right? The freighter, the ship is called the Ghost during the early days of the Rebel Alliance. 4 seasons, the pilot Harrison Dula, fugitive Jedi Kanan Jarrus, he's dead. Spoiler, he's dead. Padawan learner Ezra, right? He's purgled out, and the Lasat muscle Zeb Aurelius, right? Chippy astromech droid Chopper, and Sabine.
Waiting for Toothy Sarlacc to come in. Writing is
they did leave out Agent Callus. Agent Callus and Zeb ended up going back to his planet together to help fix some things that the Empire did to the planet. So we don't know if Agent Callus is going to show up again or not, because we saw Zeb. Last we saw Zeb and Callus left together. Where's Callus? So we don't know. But that's a good question. It says the hard-earned freedom came at a cost. However, Kanan sacrificed himself. Right, he died. Ezra wound up missing in action, and then the final shot of the series, the mural of the specters in the prompt, was so poignant. Artwork has been recreated for the new show. Whatever. Sabine had moments that would reverberate through the franchise, so on and so forth. There's a couple pieces in here. If you haven't watched Rebels, she invented a weapon of mass destruction that was subsequently turned on to Mandalorians by the Empire. And so that was a story arc they had. She had created this weapon of mass destruction. They had to go kind of try to take away from the Empire, take away the technology, take away the knowledge of the technology. And sort of like a Pandora's box. Once it's been opened, you've got the problem. But that was a storyline. And then she also gave the Darksaber to Bo. She had earned it. She gave it away.
So she Oppenheimered herself.
Yeah. Nice tie-in. Yes, she did. It says Ahsoka picks up their story about a decade later. Exactly. So Ahsoka, we've got a decade gap in all of these characters. Some of them are explained because they were purgled away. Ahsoka, not purgled away. Where has she been the 10 years? Well, she's back. Here she is. Some of it's answered in the Ahsoka novel, but not much. And even some of that isn't really strictly adhered to in some of the stories. So we don't know where that's going, but says she doesn't want to go into huge detail, but breadcrumbs have been left. We do know she still feels significant regret about Ezra's disappearance. At the end of Rebels, we found Sabine at the specific point where they liberated Lothal, and she just lost her friend. So they're on Lothal. That whole E-Wing thing is they're on Lothal, the home planet of Ezra Bridger, also the home planet of Governor Price, who is dead, but in any event, if you go back and watch Rebels, you'll see that. It says, even though a lot of time has passed at the start of the show, the same things are at the top of their mind. So from 10 years ago. I don't know if what happened with the Darksaber weighs on her or not. And what happened to Mandalore and all of that. We don't know if she's involved with any of that. But finding Ezra is one of the biggest driving forces. The crew was the only family she had, and obviously she and Ezra shared a special bond. Well, Ezra was constantly hitting on her, but she was constantly turning him away, like no interest. So
that'll age well. Okay, give it 10 more years to see how that ages.
I know.
I can tell these kids, don't worry, the things you grew up with, they'll turn on you too. You know, the next generation, they'll hate everything you love. Just wait till you get to that age. It really bummed my uncles out. I had these two nerd uncles I always talk about. They were essentially the two nerds from the movie War Games, right? Like they had a big fat one and a nerdy Eddie Deason like one that was mental. And so they were at Comic-Con before that was a thing, blah, 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 blah. And nothing pained them more than me loving the Michael Keaton Batman, you know, more than the Adam West Batman, you know, like they just could not get past that. Adam West wasn't Batman, you know, like it'll happen. It'll happen to these folks.
It will happen. 100%. Dad tried to call me again. I'll call him later. He can wait.
Doesn't Shin look like a Gelfling in that shot? Like, doesn't that look like something right out of Dark Crystal?
I see what you mean. Right?
Wow, that is a real puppet person. Like,
it's a little steampunky, isn't it? Like that. Like this.
It's like David Lynch's Dark Crystal, right? Like this is what Return of the Jedi would have looked like if Lynch had got a hold of it.
It does look a little steampunky, though, right? That looks like steampunk.
Yeah, a little bit, but she's just got like an elf face. So
yeah, I see. And it says most of all, Sabine's former associates, Miss Tano, right, Ahsoka, is poised to be the most crucial. She's genuinely seen it all, except the original trilogy. She didn't see that, but sorry.
Subtle shade.
She quit the Jedi Order in sensational style. Survived the Emperor's Order 66 purge, became pivotal to the birth of the Rebel Alliance, and as a mysterious operative fulcrum. By the time she reunited with Sabine in the Rebels epilogue, she had extended stay in the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey world between worlds. So, yeah, she visited World Between Worlds with Ezra, but I wouldn't say that she's been hanging out there for a decade. Is that what they're implying? That she's been hanging out in the World Between Worlds for 10 years? That's where she was during the original trilogy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, man.
I think there's a deep level of respect.
Possible.
Yeah. Well, it actually explains it, right? Like, okay, she went to the World Between Worlds. She was there for 10 years. She sees like the Emperor gets defeated. And now she's needed, so she steps back into the timeline here. Perhaps. Because even in the Rebels, you can hear like Obi-Wan Kenobi talking to Luke. You can hear future events. You can hear Rey in the sequels. Like all of that is back in the Rebels episode. You go back and watch it. In the World Between Worlds episode.
I gotta be honest with you, Santa. Even at this point in my life, I didn't think I could be surprised by George Lucas. But when Lucas decided to make all of his extended storytelling the space in between episode 3 and 4 versus like it was like you're just telling all these stories now between those two movies, and I thought he would have just been like, here, we're gonna go back to like when Yoda was a kid or something, you know, like he would have gone further back into some open area, you know. Like, I didn't think he'd go and no, there was like a million other adventures happening with all these other Jedi like that. That's just weird to me. I mean, it's not weird as most people, but it just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
You know,
do you have an opinion on the World Between Worlds? I assume you're familiar with it.
I understand it, just something that exists outside of something. I consider it like the Phantom Zone, like the way I think about it. But, you know, like
I see.
I don't have any opinion. Like this really comes down to how they execute it in the show. And I'm of the, it's not pessimism, but I'm of the mind that they just won't deal with it. They'll just say it happened and move on. Like they tend to not dwell on things that would require a lot of explanation, you know?
Yeah. Well,
like I thought they were actually going to show you what it was like to learn how to use the Force in the prequels, but shame on Rob, you know?
Don't start, Rob. We both be on the same soapbox with the prequels.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm using George Lucas logic. I'm not like people are trying to go, oh, it's because Disney's messed it up. I mean, no, I'm using Lucas logic, and by Lucas logic, they'll just walk right over it, you know, step right over that puddle.
let them write about it in the sci-fi magazine. No, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
She says there's a deep level of respect Sabine has for Ahsoka. Well, in the trailer, she calls her master, right? And there's some hint that she's Force sensitive. We'll find out. I'm neither here nor there.
You know what would have been
just said. Like, it depends how they execute it, how much I'll like it or dislike.
Here's what I would have accepted, right? Like, in terms of like, would have made a lot more sense. One of the things that Lucas had touted before episode 1 came out was that we would eventually learn how Yoda became one with the Force, was able to communicate with Obi-Wan beyond the dead, right? And I was like, when I first heard this World Between Worlds, I'm like, maybe that's where Yoda went, right? Like, what if like they didn't die? They released, you know, they created their own sacrifice to go to another place so they could exist outside of time. It's a form of like, you know, and like what do they call that when you retreat to like, not a retreat, but like
well, it's a realm where the cosmic Force beings live.
I thought that's what they was gonna say. Like that's where Yoda was, and that's where Obi-Wan went to. They didn't really die. They went to this other thing. So like it's like a purgatory. You know what I mean? Like sacrifice you make to always be there in a way to like, you know.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, no, that would require too much. I know. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm just like, you just got to accept, well, that's not what it is, Rob. So
you're right. That's the way it is with Star Wars. A lot of times you just have to accept, well, that's just the way it is. That's just what it just is. Does it make sense? No. Is it consistent? No. But why? Because that's just the way it is. All right, there's tons of things. People love to talk about the Force Ghosts and what jerks they are, right? There's tons of things that Obi-Wan could have told Luke, or, you know, like, hey, but no.
But if they were in the world, it would explain why they could communicate, but they couldn't influence. Like, the biggest problem I have with Rise of Skywalker is Luke lifting the X-Wing out of the water. Like, the ghost shouldn't be coming there doing things for you. Well, you know what I mean? That's not... What lesson are you learning there? You know, like, I don't. Then wait, Luke, why don't you just fight the whole battles too? Like, you know, well, bring back all the Jedi and fight this. Like, why don't we just have big ghost war?
You go back to Lord of the Rings when Aragorn goes and gets the undead army or the ghost army. Right?
I remember that.
Yeah. So anyway, it says in the show they've been through a lot and time has passed. Some which we don't know about. Their quests kind of end up overlapping, bringing them back together. There's tension, and there's things they've been through that they need to work out. Reunion is interesting. which I think is when she's sending shade, like saying master. I think she's throwing shade. She's not her master. She's like, this is some of the tension they're working through. But in any event, it says they'll also have Thrawn in their side. They'll have a Thrawn in their side, a Thrawn in their side. Mike Porter dad joke right there. Oh, it's just dying to be written. They have a Thrawn in their side. Mike, there's your punchline. Write the joke. Says they'll form an infamous in the form of an infamous Chiss commander last seen blasting off to the unknown regions with Ezra. Not blasting off, purgled off. But Thrawn won't be the only antagonist because there's these other two, Balin and Shin, right? Says, and then there's some stuff about Stevenson and says, and his character. For all the returning characters, however, the biggest through line in the animated shows is Dave Filoni, who created Ahsoka Tano with George, was showrunner for the Clone Wars and Rebels. So while Destiny's an overused word in the context of Star Wars, it certainly applies to Filoni's role as overlord of Ahsoka.
Could you imagine if Lucas had come out with this show today? Like the fans they'd hate him, right?
Well,
He'd be like, no, he just rebooted the Clone Wars and made a female character the hero.
We've said this too. If people did get George Lucas's sequels, like they did it, he directed them, the whole thing, they would still hate him, and they would hate him for them.
The Clone Wars wasn't about a girl; it was about Anakin killing kids. Like, what are you doing? Like that. Kilo Tango Kilo, kill them kids, man. Like that's what they want.
So they say, just to have the creator around every day is a luxury. The creator being Dave Filoni.
Y'all got to call me the creator. Y'all gotta do it. Y'all got to do it. And I don't want a capital on that. It's a little C. So you gotta just be like, little C. How you doing? How you doing, creator?
Well, it's good to see you, Filoni.
I just hang around. I just, we're just doing whatever. We got nothing to do. I ain't gonna pick it. I'm a company man. So,
Well, he's also a bottomless pit of knowledge.
And Hooters chicken wings. I can just eat all of them Hooters chicken wings, Santa. Know what I'm saying?
How appropriate that you're in a restaurant being a bottomless pit.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, they put little scripture on the cups in here. I love it.
The guardian of the story and the characters. Also, he just really trusts us. And then more triggering stuff, because I know the internet says, while we'd go to him for guidance, he'd say, well, you are Sabine, so whatever you instinctually feel is right. How Zen-like of him to be directing that way. Well, I'm not the guardian of all things. You're Sabine. Whatever you feel, that's the thing. That's it. That's right.
Yeah, well, the biggest problem with actors are, you give them an inch and they take a foot, And so by hook or by crook, you got to get the performance out of them. And with digital actors, the real ones, I don't really care for. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah.
Faster, more intense.
Yeah, well, or we'll just we'll replace you in post with Ben Burt. It's possible. Yeah. I look. What do you look? This is something too, where it's like you do have to you hire actors for a reason.
Yeah.
Now, personally speaking, when it comes to speaking with anyone in production, the last people I'm interested in are the actors. It's not my thing, right? I'm interested in the directors. I'm interested in lighting. I'm interested in the acting thing. My cousin, she's an actress. That's their you talk that shop all day. I'm not in the actor studio for that.
Yeah.
But if you're telling an actor how to act, you're never going to get the performance you're looking for.
Right.
You really, that's the one thing that I have gleaned over the years is you have to guide. And I understand this as an artist. you tell people what you're looking for, but if you tell me put this line here, put that color there, well then you do it. You know, like what am I bringing to this? So that is something that Lucas has admittedly not been very great with, and I'd say he was the best at it on American Graffiti and the first Star Wars film. You know,
well, I'll say this: just responding to Real Bid Maynard. All jokes aside, I think it's fair to say you don't like the sequels. I don't know who he's talking to. Probably somebody in the chat, because I love the sequels. I think they are better than the prequels for me. They're more Star Wars than the prequels for me.
I hate Rise of Skywalker. Like,
that's me.
I think it's the worst Star Wars film ever made.
Yeah.
So and look, that's saying a lot, because you can understand, after I saw Attack of the Clones, I threw away. I had bought that it was, we were at the premiere, and it wasn't like the official premiere, but it was the day of, right? IMAX thing. And I had just bought that Dooku saber, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I got the new saber. Yeah. And I walked out of there and just chucked it in the bin. So, you know, that's how much I dislike Rise of Skywalker. So
John Boyega got in a bit of a thing this week. So he was doing the hot ones where they eat the chicken wings.
I love that show. I haven't seen that episode yet.
I do too. I love that. It's a great show. But they asked him about the sequels and to rank them in order of which ones he likes more or less. And he said that he liked The Force Awakens the most, Rise of Skywalker second, and The Last Jedi third. But he thought they're all lovely films. So he didn't say like The Last Jedi sucks, I hate it.
Well, they didn't do his character any benefits in the second one, and
that's what a lot of people were saying, is that he's being nice, but he really hates it.
But this is also a problem, Santa. Look, you spent a little time in the military, you know, I did, and like I was trying to explain to Jason, like, you know, I really enjoy Rian Johnson's work overall on everything he's done. But when you're going to write military, if he's going to spend his time writing military, like, there's some real basic things you could kind of like get around. Like why would an engineer be tasing? If it's a volunteer army, then you should be able to voluntarily leave. Why would she be like tasing people, you know, to keep them on board? Like, none of these things make any sense, you know, like that's not an army. It's a volunteer force. He could just leave if he wanted to. He wasn't even in their military. So it's just, there's these problems that and he goes, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, no, this is a fundamental problem from the beginning.
It is. And it's why I will recommend Timothy Zahn, because he captures it really well. He does a good job of it. Read his books. It's a great. To be fair,
he wrote like a dozen space military books before he wrote even the first Star Wars book.
Yes, it's good. Right. He's got a good background for it. But you're right. To do a little bit of homework is always helpful. Just a little bit. You don't need to understand the whole. You don't have to be enlisted for 20 years to understand. Just do some homework. You know, have a military advisor come on set and say, "Oh, wait, you can't do that. Absolutely cannot do that." Right? Versus, well, that's not how we would do it, but that's okay. But you know,
but that's one of the things with just those sequels in general is they didn't fully, and blame JJ for this one. They didn't fully describe the rules of their universe. And so we didn't really know, was Leia's army a real army? Was it another rebellion? It's just sort of existing in limbo, in which a book may explain it and then not really explain it. Yeah. So this is a problem that like if you go back to, I'm a big fan of JJ's 2008 Star Trek, 2009, 2008, whatever year that was, remake. But there's a huge gaping problem with that film where in the Romulans, we're just sitting out in space for 20 years. You know, and you can go, well, I didn't think about it during the movie, so it didn't matter, which you got me there. But it is a real problem, right?
There's a problem with the second movie too, the Wrath of Khan movie.
Right. We're in this is supposed to be the Kirk universe where they made a character who was Spanish into a British dude. I mean, it's a whole nother problem. Well,
it's more fundamental than that. Like, they absolutely have to get Khan's blood because he's got the DNA markers, except they've got like 5 more of them sitting in stasis back in the way. They're not
Sure.
going anywhere. They could just go get it from them.
But you see it escalating with JJ, right? You sort of see him getting to the point where, oh, this doesn't matter and this doesn't matter. And I always warn people, like anyone in a creative endeavor, there are times when you're like, yeah, I don't need to be spending a ton of time rounding this part out on my work, right? Because there's always a deadline. Time is the thing you're always up against. Nobody, not George Lucas, not Steven Spielberg, nobody has unlimited time. Even James Cameron has a deadline, one way or the other.
Right.
They may extend it to but JJ, but if you start to get into the habit of saying it doesn't matter, you then will eventually creatively start to operate on nothing matters. Right. Like it's really what's important is just the moment. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like
it bothered me when I was watching the movie. I'm like, wait, why are they chasing him? Just kill him. Like we can't kill him because we need his stuff. I'm like, wait, no, you don't. You got like
right. Yeah.
They're in stasis. They're not running or nothing. You're gonna just go get leisurely pick them up. Anyway, real Ben, I agree. The whole John Boyega stuff's annoying. It's people making excuses for other people's opinions, people criticizing other people's opinions, people using other people's opinions to validate their own opinions. All of that is super annoying. John Boyega gets a lot of attention because he validates a bunch of people's opinions, and they want to hold him up as on a pedestal. Well, wait until he says something you don't like, or and then see how it goes. They'll turn on him in a dime. He's got an opinion. If he likes Rise of Skywalker better than Last Jedi, good on him.
To be fair, John Boyega probably likes Pacific Rim Uprising more than Pacific Rim. And, I don't like any of the movies. I'm like, all right, sure, buddy. I get it. And I get why he would feel that way. He's just more of an active role. The biggest, and I've told Jason before, my biggest problem with The Last Jedi, I'm 50-50 on the film. I think it has a really strong ending. The ending is really good.
Does. Yeah.
So that's where it wins a lot of problems. But the biggest problem for me is Rian Johnson created new characters to teach the characters we just spent a whole movie with the lessons they had already learned in the first movie. It's like, I got to teach you why you should care. He already learned why you should care in the last movie. Rey is why he cares.
Yes.
Rey is why he's learned to live and not run from things, now you're just creating another character to reteach him the lesson. This is just a fundamental problem, you can't do that. You got to use the characters that were there. And if you're going to make a new character, make it so they fundamentally get them to question the choices they made. That's really it. And Rose doesn't make him question the choices he makes. He's just gone backwards and reset, and she's just relearning the same lessons. So.
DJ was a wasted character. People talk about wasted characters from The Last Jedi. DJ to me is the most wasted. He had a lot of potential, but you're right in that the purpose he served in the movie was already fulfilled. And then what? What happens? Like, he just disappears. He's gone. And
you have Benicio del Toro, and you're not gonna. It's almost Lucas-like, where it's like
it's crazy.
You put Samuel Jackson just came off Jackie Brown, which I still believe is his finest performance in any film. He should have won that Oscar that year for his performance in Jackie Brown. He didn't just carry that movie. He carried it. It's magnificent. A villain you love. Yeah. I've rarely come across that. And a guy who legitimately has a point in that film. Like, it is his money. He barely earned that in a legal way, but it is his money. Everyone's, what is going on here? And then to use him to just sit in a room and give you the Spock eyebrow, it was like a waste of Sam Jackson's talents. I was promised, it'll all pay off later. It doesn't. I think sometimes, man, directors, like, with anybody in control, if they didn't create it, sometimes they feel like they don't really have ownership over it. They don't know what to do with it. It's a weird mental issue. Yeah. I don't know. I've experienced this in some brief moments on things I've worked on. I worked where, they have to create a new thing because they feel they can move it around. But that's just something that you got to get past. You gotta get past that,
Yeah. Look, I like DJ's character too. I just think wasted potential, and I agree with Kay that there's a lot of still untapped potential, and I would love to see the sequel trilogy expanded upon to give the opportunity for that potential to be realized. But and people can argue they should have done it in the sequels themselves. Well, we can talk about that all day long, but I want to finish the article. It says, although Ahsoka is set in the same period as Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and the upcoming Goonies in Space, which is really, they should just call it, but Goonies in Space Skeleton Crew, Bordizo tells the series will have its own distinct feel, inspired by Kurosawa, blah, 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 blah. Right? So if the Mandalorian was Western, Boba Fett's a crime mob thing, which I don't know that it succeeded in that, but okay, if it is. And then the Eastern influences are what this is leaning towards. And I think if you go back and you watch the Mandalorian season 2 episode with Ahsoka in it, it is very Eastern influence, and Dave directed it. So that he's involved with the series, that it would follow that same sort of feel, seems consistent to me. And I think that's a good thing. Says, but does Bordizo ever get a sense that Ahsoka is simply a chapter in a wider story, increasingly crowded in timeline, which is the argument. Are you getting it too crowded where people have to watch too much stuff to understand what's going on because there's just so much to consume? She says, I think it's not hard to feel part of being something bigger. Ahsoka runs along the same timeline as Mandalorian Season 3. Jason's told us this for a long time. It starts around sometime in Mandalorian Season 2, runs alongside Season 3. So there you have some confirmation of another story that Jason shared with us. Right? It runs alongside the same timeline as Mandalorian Season 3. Shows are all connected. Just so many parallels. They're building up to a climactic movie event by Filoni. And it says, we're not expecting a lot of plot specifics anytime soon, but the cast are lobbying to be part of what we're guessing is going to be an Avengers-style event. And then she doesn't know if she's going to be in the movie or not. So it's an interesting article. There's tons of things in here that you can nitpick apart, and I think that are triggering for fans. But let's see if we've covered the things. Nolan isn't being, because he just did Oppenheimer. He's not saying if he would do Star Wars or not. Non-committal. What else?
Nolan was never going to direct a Star Wars movie, folks. Let's get off that. The only film he's ever talked about going back to in terms of a franchise is James Bond. Like, he's been obvious about that. So, I mean, he's first opened up about that when he did Inception. He was able to put a James Bond moment, the ski bit, in that film. So he's never once been like, I really want to direct a Star Wars movie. He's never, he loves the movies, but he doesn't, and you wouldn't be able to hear anyone talking.
Well, true. Not kidding. Yeah. The soundtrack would be way too loud. Sound effects. Like,
you want to know CGI?
Like that.
Santa, come on, I love that. You want to know CGI Star Wars? I'll watch it, but no one else will. You know what I mean?
Right. And it just follows along the deal where the latest big director is the one that they want to see if they're doing Star Wars again, right? So that's really what that was about. Lando, who knows what's going on with that? Are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? Kathleen says none of these projects are canceled. Well, if they're never canceled, but they're never done.
We never really divorced. We just stopped living together.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in 20 years, but we're still married. Yeah. Okay. And Apple. Disney selling to Apple. And I agree with Bestman here where he says he doesn't think that would ever happen. I could see a partnership of some sort though. But that's about it from there. And I know you guys have already talked about this. And there's Boyega saying he's open to returning to Star Wars. He's always, look, there was some stuff coming out of the sequels where he said some negative things, but he's and there's some stories out there that are kind of spun in a direction where he kind of said he would never do Star Wars. That's not true. It's just not true. And as it goes with his career, give it some time. and they all come back around to reconsider down the road. And so, when he said he wasn't interested in doing Star Wars because he had other things on his mind, on his plate, and he wanted to explore those. Even in that article, if you read it, which we talked about before, a lot of people don't. If you read it, you can go back and see where he likes to take these like 5-year breaks from things. So give it a little time, give it time to breathe. And he may, if there's a compelling story that involves him to come back, then he would be open to it. And here's where we are. Do they have a compelling story? Some people made some pretty compelling arguments that he is playing the game to get the contract, to get the dollars. But we'll see.
Plus, you just can't always. It's not even that. Like when you're in negotiations or here's the thing: if you ever want to do something, you can never say you want to do it. Like you have to be very careful, especially when you're negotiating. You can't even mention when you're like attached to things or talking to people about things. Like I mean, I've been in this situation before. Like, look, I've been in a situation where I'm drawing a comic book series for a Spawn miniseries for Todd McFarlane called Spawn Kills Every Spawn that was announced today at Comic-Con.
Nice.
Like, I've been on this for the last year, but like, I couldn't go and tell people, I'd go and draw a Spawn or not draw a Spawn. You know what I mean? Like, you're left in a weird position for them because they're not at the point where they can talk about it. Then it's all about, well, when's it coming out? If he says he wants to work on a Star Wars movie, the very next thing is, when's it coming out? Right. When's it coming out? And they're like, never anytime soon. It's like these things don't get made in a day, So it's like you have to be very careful. Publicity and timing and all those things have to happen coordinatingly. You know what I mean? They have to be coordinated.
Yeah, they have to be coordinated together. And we know, like, they'll lie until after it's been announced and things are in place. And so I expect that the movie that featuring Rey or in some capacity would also feature Finn in some capacity. What's the story and to what capacity? It remains to be seen. We'll see.
That's where I said it's so odd to me to do. I mean, it makes the most sense though when you think about it. It's odd to me that they would do a one-off pseudo sequel to the last trilogy of films.
Yeah.
That maybe if it's popular enough goes forward or not. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I'm like, but that's actually like, if it has anything consistent with Kathleen Kennedy, it's like, we'll do just enough to see where our toes dip in the water thing. Right. The problem with that is like, how do I say this? If you don't really have a good vision, then you're just kind of hoping that people just like the last thing you did. Like, think about this. When Marvel rebooted Spider-Man, when Spider-Man Homecoming came out, it made like what, $600-700 million or something, which is pretty good for now. But at the time, it didn't do like $1 billion or $2 billion that it would eventually do. So what are they going to consider the financial success of what are they going to consider success for this film to move forward? If when Man of Steel did 500 million, they should have took that as a win because Batman Begins didn't do 500 million when it first rebooted, but The Dark Knight broke $1 billion. So it's like you could have, if you had just invested, built that audience past that first film, you could have done, $1 billion with the next Man of Steel one, right? But then they're like, I don't know, when the Batman versus Superman, you're like, guys, this is not the thing to do here. So no, I don't know,
Yeah. I mean, I understand projecting out and planning like a 5-year kind of thing or 10, like to have some directional strategy. But you're right. Like if the first domino fails, and then the other dominoes don't fall, so you can't put a lot of pressure. You can't put a lot of.
Then why get a first-time director to put the pressure on them? That's unfair to the director.
Right. Exactly.
Like. Look, Jason saw her documentaries, and the one thing I have taken away from listening to many interviews with directors is that documentary work is actually more in line with jumping to theatrical film, which is why Lucas tried to shoot a lot of his films like documentaries. I mean, THX 11138, both the student film and the theatrical version were shot like a documentary. In that, including to be American Graffiti was shot in a documentary like style with, you know, super 60 millimeter or whatever. And then like he wanted to shoot Star Wars that way, but the grain was something they couldn't get past, the quality with the visual effects and everything. But but he tried to always shoot those films like a documentary style. And I think that what that is you want to get all the footage you can gather up, and then you sort of make the story in the editing bay, which, by the way, is really how they make the new Mission Impossible films. If you listen to Chris McQuarrie talk a lot, they gather up as much of their footage as they have, and they're sort of like assembling it. When they get like a location they're going to go to, they build the sequence around the actual location they're at. They don't figure it all out ahead of time. There's really is more of a spontaneity to it, and then they craft it in the editing bay. So like, there is no one way to make a great film, right?
No,
People need to stop with that idea, you know. But I think it's unfair to a first-time documentarian to be like, "Oh, you get to make the sequel to the trilogy, and if it don't work out, it's your fault," because that's what's going to happen, Santa. And I'm like, man, like, this is like, I was hoping when they were doing the TV shows, right? That they would be able to work with so many different directors on the TV shows that they would get past directors feeling like the Star Wars is on them to succeed or fail, right? That you take away that pressure, you know? But this feels like it's, I don't know.
Really good point. Couple other things. This Mandoween is coming up. Doesn't surprise me they're doing another Star Wars Halloween special. Like they've done a Christmas special. They did a Halloween special. They're doing another Halloween special. They did a summer one too. Well, it was a different season, but basically summer. Halloween is quickly approaching, as far as like dollars spent, Christmas. Like Christmas and Halloween are neck and neck in what people are spending, like for home decorations and parties and all that. So it's an extremely popular holiday. To do another holiday special with the Mandoween doesn't surprise me a bit. And I enjoy the Lego specials. Do you watch the Lego specials? Do you like them? No? Any opinion?
No, I'm not against them. I just don't have little kids.
Oh.
I don't have kids. So like, I like the Lego movie. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, Santa. Lego Batman, I think, is the funniest film since Anchorman. Like, if you aren't laughing, you are. I've never seen a film, Santa, where you laugh at a blank screen in the first 15 seconds of a film. Like,
well, the Lego movie where everything is awesome. That's a
Lego movie has the heart. It has so the Brad Bird, you know, Iron Giant heart, right? But in terms of just pure chuckles, the Lego Batman movie, pound for pound. I mean, it has him shooting orphans with a merch gun. I gotta tell you, Santa might be the greatest gag I've ever seen.
Really good.
Like, really I can save you all from poverty, but now here's some free merch. Tap, tap, tap. Like that's the country I know. That's the America I know.
and Andor 2 is still filming. And Bestman breaks it down where some of the union rules in England specifically prevent them from striking in support of SAG-AFTRA. So they have to, due to their union rules, if they're members of that union, they're not striking, and they can't strike in solidarity with. So they have to work. So what you see going on there, if anybody's asking questions, how are these people, you know, doing this when this other thing's going on? It's because of laws in England, as well as those union rules they have there, where it's specifically in there that they cannot. So, but they're still filming over there, and I think it's supposed to wrap. He puts it in.
Well, here. I hope they're not scabbing. My gut tells me this is like action pickups and you know, third AD, you know, like coverage and stuff, you know, like things that don't require editing or writing, or just things that, you know, that are stunt based and blah blah blah, you know.
Yeah, it says some of the biggest points. He talks about it in here with SAG-AFTRA and the Writing Guild. It says, following the strike officially being called last week, Blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Oh, there it is. However, actors that are working under contracts governed by the UK union, Equity, who represent over 40,000 actors, are allowed to continue filming and promoting their work as Equity members, are not legally allowed to strike in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA. Strict union laws in the United Kingdom are preventing an expansive show of solidarity from Equity, who can't legally call a strike due to restrictive UK legislation. So they don't have a choice. I mean, legally they cannot. That's why things like House of Dragon and Andor are still filming. It's not that they aren't in solidarity, it's that they can't, I mean, legally they can't do anything about it, and their union prohibits it. So,
Right.
So they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, I'm not even going to. This is where Bespin might have a better insight into this. Even Jason, because he's he knows a lot of those crews down there, like how that might work. I have no clue what the labor laws are with the.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about British unions are when James Cameron would complain about the tea time, on the making of Aliens, right? Like, because it wasn't that they were drinking tea twice a day. It was that they had to fill that setup with smoke. To get the atmosphere in, and they would open up the bay doors to let the tea cart lady in, and so all the smoke would run out. It takes hours to fill up one of those hangars.
Go back and watch the documentaries for the original trilogy, and then some of the stuff that was driving Lucas nuts as well. Was
same stuff.
Like, 5 o'clock, we're going home. They're like, but we've got 10 more minutes. They're like, well, it'll be tomorrow 10 minutes. It's not today 10 minutes because.
Well, see, I agree with that, though. Like, this is where studios should be allotting for that in their budget.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, I'm for a strong labor union, like who's going to protect you when a giant corporation is abusing you? Like only us, we're only going to help each other. But studios should be figuring that out into their budgets. They shouldn't be like, hey man, somehow it's going to have to get done. I'm out. Peace. And let the director give themselves a heart attack trying to figure out how to do this. You know what I mean? How can I break the laws because the studios won't do it is not the answer,
No.
Right.
This cracks me up. I want them to do straight up live action holiday special again. Embrace the cheesy.
You really don't.
You really
don't.
I mean, you could say it until they do it. It's like I heard them talking. TRB did it. They said they wanted to see at least see the new Inquisitor use his spinny blade as a helicopter blade in live action, to get to see that in live action. They're like, no, you don't. Like, nobody liked it in Rebels. You certainly don't want them to do it again, like where they just hold it up and just, go gadget copter their way off, right?
Look, the best I've ever seen it done was in the Ronin series where she had that parasol.
Yeah.
That like I want to see things. Look, my as just a pure fan, the thing I have the least interest in Star Wars so far has been the fight sequences. Not since the Obi-Wan Darth Maul fight from the Phantom Menace have I been impressed with the Star Wars fight sequence. And I really want to see them up the fights, like big time.
Oh, so I like the throne room scene in The Last Jedi. I know it's
good, but it's short. It's like 5 seconds, so they just kill everyone and then they almost die. It's like, all right, it's cool, but it's not the sequence you're waiting for, like it happens and it's cool, but so there's just things they could do that are more dynamic. And I was talking to Jason about this. It's not just with Star Wars. I'm not picking on Star Wars. Marvel has this problem too. I almost feel like in previs, they should bring in 2D animators to like actually really animate the things like in a way that wouldn't be. The problem is they're trying to do everything like it really exists. And I don't know if that you can give something that's fantastic gravitas and weight and believability without it being like existing in the real, like limited by the limitations of whatever. Like, I just think we're past that.
So one of the best animated fight scenes that I've seen flat out is in Ahsoka or in the last, I'll get there. Give me a second. The Clone Wars season 7 with Ahsoka and Maul. That fight scene is amazing, and they did some of that in mocap, and it's absolutely stunning. When you're using such an acrobatic character like Ahsoka in live action, one of the things that I don't think they'll ever be able to do is bring that kind of athleticism, acrobatic moves into Rosario Dawson. I just don't. It would take a lot, right?
Yeah, but I think you can do a lot with digital actors these days, and because she's not a human, and her design would allow for obfuscation in shots.
Yeah.
Like, I just think what's more important, and this show might do it. You don't need a big budget for this. Is I'm the biggest fan in any sort of sequence where you feel you're the character, like you're right there with them. I'll point you to a recent example of this. In episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, a series I'm not a fan of, but that specific episode, there's a great shot when they're on the train and Boba Fett almost gets knocked off and he like climbs onto the bottom and like the camera gets down and you're right there with him. Like you hopped on the train with them. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I just want to feel like I'm there with them, doing the thing with them. There's an immediacy to that. Not like I'm away from them with the camera watching it go down. Like I feel like when Luke fights Vader in The Empire Strikes Back, I'm fighting Vader and there's no freaking way I'm winning this. Like, but when I watch,
part about that is the dark and hearing his voice respirator, but not him, and the fear. Like you feel the fear.
Yeah, well, the sound design is Star Wars made sound design.
Yeah.
An Oscar-winning thing. So never underestimate that.
Well, that's what helps make that scene too, right? Like it's not only that we could, the stakes, and you can feel the tension, and then you hear that respirator. It just, all of it builds to this perfect kind of combination where you feel the anxiety rather than just seeing some action sequence on the screen, right? Mike Porter dad joke. What happened when Luke Skywalker scratched his eye again? Well, it was Return of the Red Eye. Oh.
Yeah, more like Return of the Stink Eye, if you know what I'm saying. All right, buddy.
Yeah,
calm down.
Go. My dad's been trying to call me for a couple hours, and we've got to get the RV packed up. We're going camping for my birthday. We're going to spend the weekend up in Amish country at our campground. So we got to get
going bowling.
That's
what the Amish do. They bowl, right? Like, I've seen the movie.
No, you know what? I haven't. My dad carries them around to do a bunch of stuff. We call him a Yoder toter, right? That's when you haul Amish around.
You're not going to escape that one, Santa. That's coming back to haunt you.
It's a common thing, right? It's a common thing. Yoder tote. But he carries them to go to the chiropractor. They love going to the chiropractor and to the grocery store. He takes them to swap meets and different kind of things, auctions. Never once has he taken them bowling. Yeah. It's not a thing. At least not here. So there you go. Rob, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
It's great. And
anytime you want to talk about Mission Impossible, you have me on and we'll do it. Like,
all right. Well,
love Mission.
I know Jason's going through some real cruddy stuff, and hope that his day gets better. And I know that Meg is spending time with her family, so I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no one loves me, so I'm here. Right?
No, it's great. It's great. We were able to talk about that. You and I, we agree on a lot of stuff, and I appreciate.
Yeah, like how silent Santa gets when I bring up labor unions. Yeah, I'm on for it. It's like, no solidary. Yeah, just let's all live under the boot of Bob Iger, right?
Well,
that's right.
Well. Yeah.
You'll get there, Santa. You'll get there.
All right. Well, hey, I got to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Santa.
Have a great weekend, Rob.
You too.
All right. Take care. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And again, you can go over to Patreon. If you want more Star Wars content, content, go to Patreon. I'm posting new videos every day. They're like 10 to 15 minutes over the most part. Every now and then they go long, 20 or 30, but for the most part, they're around that 15-minute mark. And you can get caught up with Thrawn trilogy. We're starting today with Thrawn Treason. So you can catch the 2017 Thrawn movie or novel that leads right up to Rebels. And then you can watch Rebels season 1 and season 2, and then season 3. At the end of season 3, go read Star Wars Alliances. And that happens immediately after Star Wars season 3. And then watch the first 9 episodes of Rebels season 4. And then read Thrawn Treason. Happens right there. And because this Ahsoka series is going to pick right up from Rebels. And you want all the backstory about Thrawn. You want to know who Thrawn is and what's going on. I encourage you, catch those novels. And you can get them for on Patreon. I'm posting chapters every day, and you can get 1 week free of Patreon on my Patreon, and you can get caught up on a lot of that. And you can continue on Patreon for as little as just $1 a month. You can support the channel, and it goes a very long way to helping me provide the content that we do. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And hey, there's Star Wars Obsession in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. You guys take care, be good, and have fun. And I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Until then, my friends, ho, 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 Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.